All right, on to segment 3. If you're just tuning in to this one, be sure to check out our segment 1 and 2 for this podcast. We had Tony Wash join us, and he was kind enough to stick with us for 2 whole segments. For this one, we're going into our films of the week. Uh, why don't I start it off with a classic movie, a beloved movie. At least my daughter loves it, and it was an old favorite of mine. Doom from 1995, starring The Rock and another one of my favorite actors, Carl Urban, which I am going to start watching a series that he's in called The Boys.
Yeah, you're late to that one, huh?
I am late. I keep seeing so many. It takes advertising a little while to get to me. So I have to see like the same commercial like about 1,000 times. And then I'm like, yeah, what is this show? And then by that time, it's already been like 7 seasons in, and I'm playing this game of catch up. Doom is based on a game. The Rock does not have nearly the muscles that he does now. I think he still has some hair in this movie, which is weird to see him with. I played this. It was kind of like a last minute thing. We just wanted to play a movie for the kids, and I already watched this with my kids like months ago, and my daughter was like, "Oh, let's watch this one." So it's based on the game. If anyone's played the game in the '90s on the PC, the first-person shooter, probably the second most popular first-person shooter. First one I'd say probably Wolfenstein 3D.
Well, Wolfenstein was, I think, the first.
Yeah, I want to say so because the graphics were not as good. That's how I remember it. And the Wolfenstein I could not beat at all. All those rooms and walls and aisles.
Oh, you never got a chance to kill Hitler?
Holy cow! No, I wanted to get to that point.
Man, I spent weeks trying to figure out how to kill Hitler.
Did you have a cheat sheet with cheat codes or anything, or no?
After the first time run through, then you can get like God mode and unlimited ammo and all that stuff.
Oh, I started off playing Doom with like cheat sheets because I was like
cheater.
I couldn't do it. I was like, I got scared. Like after the second level, like these things just popping out in the dark. I was like, can't do it. I got to go God mode, light everywhere, clipping through the walls.
Now, if they made a game where I can shoot the Rock constantly, I'm all in.
Back in the day when
Rock dressed up like Hitler,
like his head, Scorpion 2-esque. But back in the day in 1995, when I got my first computer, there were different floppy diskettes that you could buy that would mod the game. So like it would change all of those in Doom, those like werewolf shooting fireball guys into like Barney or something. Like it would change the sprites into different things. So yeah, maybe someone has already made one for you there. Yeah. But it's a but this is one of my favorite Carl Urban movies, really. But it just old movie. It's the graphics are real weird, but it does have that segment of the movie where it's like a first person shooter, and he's just going through the hallways and just blasting away at the demons and stuff. I really don't care for the acting. Who cares? Nobody's watching this movie for the acting. It is just fun, pass the time, classic TNT TBS type of movie. Just turn it on and whatever. This probably should have been on my guilty pleasures list, but anyway, it's The Rock. So I mean, 10 out of 10. Come on, all right, go ahead. Go ahead, David.
I'll go a little more highbrow, I guess. Not hard. The bar's not set too high.
It's hard. Don't go too high.
Well, let me give a shout out to one of our group members, Brandon Lamont Hughes, on the post for our last episode where we did our countdown of black comedies. He said he liked our list, he enjoyed our list, but he recommended The Art of Self-Defense.
I saw that.
I had not seen yet, and that's a 2019 film starring Jesse Eisenberg, and this might have made my top 10 list. It would definitely have been in the conversation. I think it's the best comedy I saw from last year. Basically, it revolves around Jesse Eisenberg's character, Casey Davies. He kind of plays like a shy kind of I wouldn't say effeminate, but he's kind of the opposite of very masculine type guy. He kind of gets bullied around, and he
He's
gets
in Zombieland. I mean, it's
yeah.
kind of he plays that character. Yeah.
What the thing is, he's not overly neurotic or super talkative like
Mm,
most of the time he is. He's definitely more subtle in this film, which I liked. But he gets mugged and beaten really badly.
yeah.
Um, so he decides to learn karate, to learn some self defense. And this karate dojo is almost like this little cult. And they try to turn him very masculine, and it almost turns into uh, a mockery of masculinity. It doesn't almost, it really does. It's a satire of toxic masculinity. Um, but it's so funny. It reminds me almost of I think in my review I mentioned Yorgos Lanthimos, who did Dogtooth, and he did Lobster. It kind of reminded me that mixed with like a British humor. Just dry and deadpan, but it's very, very funny. So if you're into like that dry deadpan humor, you will like this. But it also had something to say about society. Almost, and there's also a little reference to the Karate Kid, which I really liked. But it was just such a funny film. But like I said, it also had something to say. I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 8.5 when I reviewed it. But it was a really good film, and thank you to Mr. Brandon Hughes for recommending it. Check it out. Oh,
Yeah,
let me just say one of my favorite parts is the sensei, who only goes by Sensei. That's his name. Just call me Sensei. So he's asking Jesse Eisenberg's character just stuff about his life, like what kind of music you listen to. Jesse Eisenberg's like, I like adult contemporary. Not anymore. You like heavy metal. So he has a dachshund dog at home. A
yeah,
little wiener dog.
yeah.
And they're like, that's too effeminate. So they're just trying to change him totally from being this kind of low key guy to like super masculine.
I was trying to think back. Like one of my favorite part was when he's learning in French. That don't what did he say? Don't hurt me because I'm a tourist or something. Like he's like that's what he learns in the beginning when he gets to prevent getting beaten up.
Oh yeah, I don't want
He's
any
like,
trouble. I'm a tourist.
yeah, that's what he learned in French to say. He's like, oh God, like whoa.
Yeah, it was just such a funny film. But yeah, check it out.
All right. I saw a movie that I've been wanting to see for a long time. It actually came on TV by chance. I didn't even plan it. Brothers from 2009, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, one of my favorites, and Tobey Maguire, and the girl was Natalie Portman. Um, I still sometimes I think like, man, have I seen a bad Gyllenhaal movie? And I say his name like that to be funny. I know it's a Gyllenhaal. Now I don't know how to say it. Gyllenhaal. But he's just so good at just adapting to all these different roles. And Tobey Maguire. So the premise is Tobey Maguire is on active duty, and he is. If you see the trailer, it gives away a little bit of this, but you kind of see it coming anyway because it goes back and forth. It doesn't just dump a character off and then surprise. It sort of goes back and forth to what's going on with Tobey Maguire, what's going on in Jake Gyllenhaal's life, and they are brothers. And oh, they gave it away. And Natalie Portman is married to Tobey Maguire, and Tobey Maguire goes off on active duty, and during his tour, he goes missing. And during that time, his brother is taking care of the home. And up to this point, he is just the unreliable brother. He does not, nobody expects him to make anything of himself, and he's just not dependable for anything. And he starts to, once he realizes his brother's gone, he starts to try and pick up the pieces of his life and do what's right by the family, and they don't have a good relationship with their father, and they start to try to patch things up like that. And Jake Gyllenhaal starts to get a little close with Natalie Portman, but up to that point, it doesn't go the way you think it's going to go. Like the way the characters start to involve themselves, and you think like, oh, it's just a bit of a rough patch. Things are going to, then things start to get a little weird. And I won't say exactly beyond there, but towards the climax, when things start to heat up, the dialogue is really the dialogue is really it really pushes the acting. I don't know how to say that, but like I feel like, man, the Jake Gyllenhaal, and I can't say any much more with the actors, but you really feel for him. It's really just sometimes just sometimes it's depressing, and Natalie Portman has kids, and just how kids start to react to the family life and what's going on around them without them truly understanding the situation. It becomes very real, and the ending is not what you think it's going to be. I'd like to say that, but it was done really well. I really like how they ended it. It's not entirely predictable, and it was good. I like it. I'd recommend to watch.
I have not checked that one out, but I am a big Jake fan. I think he's an awesome actor, so I might have to put that one on my list. All right, so I'm going to go into... This is a very strange film, but
Oh boy.
I loved it. It's a 2012 fantasy drama film called Holy Motors. This was my second viewing of this film. It's directed by Leos Carax and starring Denis Lavant. It's a French film. It is not an easy film to digest. It's one that you're going to have to watch multiple times to really get. I don't think you'll ever get the full meaning of the film, but it's just one of those types of films. How it works is Denis Lavant plays a character called Mr. Oscar, and he appears to be an actor. He goes to what they call appointments, and he's driving around in his limo, and a limo is his changing room. And he goes to these appointments as a totally different character, different sexes, different ages. So it's all this great makeup work, but you never see cameras. You don't know who he's working for. And at times you're just kind of scratching your head trying to figure out what's going on. But there's just a ton of symbolism in this film. You're trying to figure out what this director is trying to say. In my opinion, he's talking about making films, but he's also talking about how people are actors at different points in their life. So he's touching on some different themes. One of my favorite segments is Lavant plays a character named Monsieur Merde, which is Mr. Shit in French. And he's just like this little trollish type character who kidnaps a model. So he basically goes through the sewer, then comes up inside of a graveyard, and he sees a fashion shoot. Eva Mendes is playing the fashion model, and he just ends up causing some violence and kidnaps Eva Mendes. But this film, you have to be an art film fan to watch this. Don't if you're into just your average Hollywood flick, please don't watch this because you'll probably just be pissed off at me. But if you want something that's a challenge to watch, and you're gonna and just messes with your brain a little bit, this is such a great film. I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Oh, I didn't see your rating. I saw that you posted about it. I didn't know you gave it a 9.
Oh yeah, it's a great film.
Okay. Right. Then I will go to the star I won't say star of the show. That's kind of really shitting on your. You
Yeah,
still have
an
one more.
asshole.
And that's going to be the last one, mine. 1917, which was released technically in 2019, but Tony wanted to make it a 2020 upcoming release because he didn't see it, and it had a wide release in 2020. Fine. So I saw this. I really liked it, and I know it got really good ratings, and that was part of the reason I was choosing between this and another one. But I didn't see it coming, and I have to say the opening is a bit slow, and it took, I would like to say, maybe a good 30 minutes or so for me to really start getting deeply interested in the story. The setting, the backdrops, everything is so good. The details and stuff they put into all of the set design, just amazing. It did win. This is I only knew after the fact. I didn't know about this until just before the show. That it did win the what is it, the Best Picture for Drama at the Golden Globes. So they obviously
Best
know.
director as well.
Oh yeah, Sam Mendes. Yeah. So clearly they know what they're doing if they're picking the ones I like, and it
Oh
was.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The 96 foreign writers. They know what they're doing.
George McKay. Is that his name, right? Who plays the
George
lead?
Takei.
No, no, not the lovely George Takei, I think he pronounces it, but George McKay, I believe his name is, who plays the lead role in it. He even saying too much about him is almost giving it away. But the premise is two young soldiers are given the task of sending a message across essentially no man's land into territory to a group or a battalion that is about to begin an attack, not knowing that it is a trap. And one of the two soldiers being sent, their brother is part of that battalion, a more integral part of that battalion. I believe he, not a colonel, but he was some sergeant or something anyway. A lieutenant. And so he has an incentive there. And he picks George McKay to go along with him. And so there, as they start their story, there's one fellow before they leave off, and they meet these characters that are just, I mean, you see all the war-torn soldiers in those trenches, and lost an eye, lost an arm, lost a leg. It's a pretty amazing tale. And you mentioned earlier in our first segment, like the long shots. I didn't even realize it at first until like maybe about 10 or 15 minutes in. I'm like, wait, when did they cut last? And then you start to really notice these long shots. And I'm not sure if some of them are just CG stitched in, or how they do that kind of pan around an object and then it's stitched. But it's done.
I believe some of it's stitched, but from what I've heard and read, it's the top end of how this has ever been done.
They really made it look almost like the entire movie is long shot. There's very few scenes where it's obvious cuts, but for the most part, there are so many long shots, and I never really appreciated them as much as I did in this movie. It was really well done. There's not a lot of dialogue. The emotion, you can really feel the emotion through when this happens, when such and such happens with George McKay. And you don't watch the trailer. That's the one thing I'll say, because I saw the trailer after the fact and I was like, oh, that was that scene. Oh, that was that. Like, you don't even see some of those scenes coming if you just watch the movie. But it was just really well done. The scenes between, like I said, you just see these war-torn soldiers and these muddied trenches and the land and all the barbed wire, just horrific looking scenes. And then you get to these scenes where it's just green pastures as far as the eye can see and blue skies, and then back to these muddied roads and all the caravans of soldiers. Like, just the amazing contrast between these types of scenes. It was really beautiful and sad. So it was done really well. I really liked George McKay's acting. I think who is it? Stanley Tucci. That other guy who reminds me of Stanley Tucci is in this movie for a short period. Um, he's yeah, I really liked it. I gave it a 9. If anything, it was just because that beginning was just a little bit slow for me. There was a couple scenes when I thought he should be shooting and he was only running, and I was like, okay, like it was. There's a couple of scenes where I wasn't truly happy with it, but it was okay. Yeah. I'd still give it a 9. I'm still happy with a 9.
You're happy with a 9?
I think I'm happy with a 9.
All right. Well, my last film that I'll discuss. Um, this one, this is a 10 out of 10 for me.
Oh boy.
It's my second viewing, and I wouldn't have given it 10 out of 10. The over 10 years ago I saw it. I still thought it was a really, really good film, but upon second viewing, I might have to say this is maybe a top 5 film for me ever. And it's called Synecdoche, New York. It is directed, we talked earlier about this guy, by Charlie Kaufman, starring one of my favorite actors ever, Philip Seymour Hoffman. May he rest in peace. And this is one of the most brilliant pieces of art I've ever seen. How do you discuss this film? It's not an easy one to discuss in short form, but I'll give it a go. The film centers around Caden Coutard, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman. Let me see. He's a stage director who wins the MacArthur Grant, which, if you remember, that's a big plot point in A Marriage Story.
Yeah.
So he's a New York stage director who he's doing Death of a Salesman, and after critical acclaim for that, he does win the MacArthur Grant. But what happens from that point is he uses this money to produce a play that becomes so wildly insane and huge, it basically becomes life. Oh, this is a film that does demand your commitment, and you will, if you like this film, you'll want to see it more than once. There are so many different avenues you can take with this film as you're watching it. It is so dense, and I think there's very few films out there are so dense. There's things you're not going to realize until after your second viewing, maybe even your third. I think I have to watch it again just to catch some stuff. One of the craziest parts is how Charlie Kaufman plays with time. Just starting the film off, the clock radio's going off. Caden's just waking up, and you hear the date on the clock radio. And within this one scene, which you think is all just one scene, he's reading the paper. It's a different date. He goes to get milk, and he sees it's expired. The expiration's a different date. So what he's trying to say here is that his life has come so routine, he doesn't even see the passage of time. And this plays such a pivotal role through this whole film. But this film, there's so many things it's trying to tell you. It's talking about suffering, loss in your life. It's talking about how the artistic process is and how a creator can get lost inside of his own work and just kind of forget about the rest of reality. There's religious allegory, but it's so breathtakingly beautiful, and it can be very depressing. There is some optimism, even though slight, in it. But you basically following Caden through his whole life, through his different relationships, and this play just ends up dominating his whole life to the point where he wants it to be so realistic. There are characters of characters of characters in the play, and they're all of real people in his life. So even Caden has a character of himself that he is directing, and I can't give it justice just by talking about it for a couple minutes. We probably could do a 2-hour show just on this movie, but it's, like I said, it's a 10 out of 10, and it's one of the greatest accomplishments ever on film.
Yeah, this is like the third or fourth time you've brought up this movie, and it's been a while since I've seen a
PSH
movie. I was like, wait, what is this? Yeah, since I've seen a PSH movie.
Well, I think me and Alex talked briefly about it, but I hadn't seen it in so long that I wanted to revisit it, and I love it.
Okay.
I really suggest everybody, even if you don't like art film, give this film a chance. I listened to an interview with Charlie Kaufman. My numbers might be slightly off, but I think they're pretty accurate. He says there's 206 scenes in this film. That is about double of what's in a normal film. PSH is in 204 of them. So just to tell you the commitment that Philip put to this film, I mean, 204 scenes, 202 scenes. It's absolutely amazing.
What year did this come out?
This was 2008.
When did he pass?
God, what is he? 2012, 2014, somewhere around there.
Okay.
It wasn't his last.
Oh, okay.
Let's see here. When did you die, Mr. Philip Seymour Hoffman? 2014.
How old would he have been today, David? That's the...
How old would he have been today?
Yeah.
He would be 52.
Oh, the ripe age of 52.
Yeah, which still so many years. I mean, how old is Robert De Niro?
70s?
Yeah,
80s?
early 70s.
You'll usually get those dates right. I mean, those ages right. Robert De Niro.
He's early 70s.
76, early 70s.
Yeah, man. So he still had years and years to go. That was a big loss there. We lost a huge talent in that man.
Al Pacino 79, Joe Pesci 76 also, Clint Eastwood 89.
You know, and he dies after Hunger Games. I mean, of all times, like,
yeah, I kind of like he was. I mean,
not after The Master. I mean, go God's Pocket, something like that.
Yeah, when I saw him in Hunger Games, like, not that he wasn't talented, I just felt like, wow, why are you in this? Like, really, they didn't. Wow, could they afford you? Like, he wasn't asking for much. Like, what, he really wanted to be in this?
You know, I don't think he ever commanded that much money, because I think he was over. I mean, he did Capote, which was a huge film for him. But most of his stuff was a little more indie. And he was a lot more a character actor in a lot of his films.
I think the last one that I really remember him in was Doubt with Meryl Streep. Did you see that one?
Yeah, a long time ago. That came out the same year as Synecdoche.
Oh, was it?
2008 was a big year for him.
I like how they did that movie. It really did give you doubt. Like, they really played both sides of that story so well. And you just weren't sure. Like, it's just not exactly sure about what the story, which way it was leaning, you know?
Did you ever see Before the Devil Knows You're Dead?
Oh, no, I never got to see that one. That is the one with Marissa Tomei and Ethan Hawke?
Yeah, that's such a good film.
Ethan Hunt? No, that's... Ethan Hunt. No, wait, that's Mission Impossible. I was like, I always get that name.
That's Ethan Hawke's. Probably one of the better films Ethan Hawke's ever been in. But that was a really good one. Let me think. The Master is probably the top. Besides this one, this and The Master, and The Master is almost a perfect film as well.
That's another one you and Alex mentioned, The Master. I haven't seen it. Was that last year or 2 years?
The 2012. That's Paul Thomas Anderson, who is one of the best directors ever. But Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman together. I mean, yeah, can you get any better than that?
Yeah. Oh, that's why you guys brought it up, because you guys were talking about Joaquin Phoenix, and you were like, he should have got a nomination. Did he get a nomination for that movie?
No, Joaquin? He didn't. No, it was him. Who else? I think Laura Dern's in that film too. Hell of a cast.
Okay.
But right. check out The Master too. That's kind of a take on the beginning of Scientology without actually being the beginning of Scientology.
Oh, is that what it's about?
Yeah, it's not directly about L. Ron Hubbard, but it's a kind of a take on that story.
Oh, okay. It's like a more of a creative approach to what that story.
Taking some points of his life and basically starting a cult.
Oh, so Phil plays Hubbard then, right?
He would play the guy who is based off L. Ron Hubbard. Yeah, and Joaquin Phoenix kind of played the younger up-and-comer, part of the group.
Oh, okay. Because I was saying, he kind of looks like that shape and face and hair, like for Hubbard.
And it's Paul Thomas Anderson. If you're not familiar with his work, just go through his filmography and just watch them all. He did There Will Be Blood, which is one of my favorite movies ever, too.
Okay. Oh, yeah, no, Nope, I didn't make it through that one.
What else? He did Boogie Nights, Magnolia, Punch Drunk Love, There Will Be Blood, The Master, Inherent Vice, Phantom Thread.
Oh, Inherent Vice, that's a Joaquin one. I know that. I didn't get to see that one. Man. I'm not going to say it anymore, but it's on my list. I said it. Fine.
Magnolia's highly overlooked. That's such a good film.
Is that a Joaquin you said?
No, that's Paul Thomas Anderson. Tom Cruise is the main star. Philip Seymour Hoffman's in that one as well. John C. Reilly.
That one does not ring a bell. I'll have to check that out. Okay. All right, that's our show, folks. Thank you so much to Tony Wash for joining us for the first two segments. Make sure to check out his movies The Rake and Skeletons in the Closet, both from 2018. And I tell you, IMDb has got it all wrong. It deserves way more appreciation than it's been given. I don't like the scoring on that page was just garbage, and those reviews were extremely harsh. Yeah. I don't like it was just off the chain. I could not believe that I'd used that. I don't know how to say some of these lingos, but it's off the chain. is it was out of control. The ratings on that, I was like, that's ridiculous. It didn't deserve that. But anyway, it was much more enjoyable than they make it believe. I couldn't believe that what I read on there. But it's hard to hear for some people. But IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, they get it wrong sometimes, and maybe even a lot of the time.
Yeah, look at Cats. That's it's got to be a great movie.
Look at every Nicolas Cage movie. Okay, the Nicolas Cage only does 10s. And IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes have given them 14% and 20%. So you guys know what I'm saying.
Yeah, look what they did to Dave Chappelle. Fuck Rotten Tomatoes.
Rotten Tomatoes.
God, they don't make sense sometimes.
No, I used to agree with them a lot in the, maybe it was like a year ago or 2-3 years ago. And then something happened. Like I just hardly ever agree with their reviews. I don't know. Anyway. I want to see this movie that he kept mentioning, Lovely Molly, now that he...
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one. It sounds very familiar.
It's Gretchen Lodge. I know that actress. All right, so thanks for tuning in, everybody. We will see you in the next episode of Coast to Coast Film Reviews. I'm Raj. Have a good night.
This is David. Have a great time of day.